Welcome back to the channel. If you're passionate about rare coins, incredible history, and jaw-dropping discoveries that could turn your pocket change into a fortune, you're in exactly the right place. Make sure you stay tuned, because today we're diving into a story that almost sounds too unbelievable to be true. We're talking about a seemingly ordinary 1997 quarter dollar coin that ended up being valued at a staggering $286 million. That's right, a quarter worth more than what most people could ever dream of making in several lifetimes. How did it happen? Why is it so valuable? And what secrets does it hide that made collectors and historians lose their minds? Stick around to find out everything you need to know about one of the most extraordinary pieces of American history ever found. Now, let's rewind to 1997, a year that many of us remember for all kinds of reasons: the rise of the internet, blockbuster movies like Titanic sweeping the world by storm, and a cultural shift that was bringing technology and tradition crashing together. In the midst of all this, at the Philadelphia Mint, millions of quarters were struck, as they are every year. Nothing unusual on the surface. Workers came and went. Machines whirred around the clock. The process of creating coins was as efficient and uneventful as ever. Or so it seemed. Among the countless coins minted that year, one quarter, just one, was born different. A mistake, perhaps. Or maybe a hidden message crafted by someone with a deeper intention. We may never know for sure. What we do know is that this single 1997 quarter would go on to change the lives of anyone who came into contact with it. Fast forward a few years. The coin, like millions of others, found its way into circulation. It bought a cup of coffee. Maybe paid a parking meter. It passed through countless hands without anyone realizing its incredible secret. For all its travels, it was just another piece of change. Until one day, everything changed. A man named Leonard Hastings, an amateur numismatist from a small town in Ohio, was sorting through a jar of coins he had saved up over the years. Leonard wasn't a professional by any means. He had no fancy tools, no vast knowledge of rare coins. Just a love for history and a hunch that sometimes, just sometimes, treasures could be hiding in plain sight. He liked to believe that every coin had a story, and he spent quiet evenings sifting through his collection, imagining the journeys each coin had taken. One evening, as Leonard was sorting coins by year and mint mark, he noticed something odd about one of his 1997 quarters. The color was slightly different. A little more vibrant, somehow. Almost glowing under the kitchen light. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the eye. Maybe a cleaner coin than the others. But when he picked it up, he felt something strange. It was heavier. Only slightly, barely noticeable, but enough for someone paying close attention. Curious, Leonard set the quarter aside. The next day, he took it to a local coin shop. The owner, an old-timer named Mr. Jenkins who had been collecting for over 40 years, squinted at the coin through his magnifying glass for several long minutes. His hands trembled slightly as he turned the coin over, examining every ridge, every letter. This isn't right," Mr. Jenkins muttered. Leonard leaned in. "What do you mean?" Mr. Jenkins shook his head slowly. "I mean, this shouldn't exist. This quarter, it's different." At first, Leonard thought he was joking. But Mr. Jenkins' serious expression told him otherwise. The shop owner explained that the quarter appeared to be struck on a unique planchet, the blank piece of metal that coins are stamped onto, that wasn't used for quarters. Not in 1997. Not ever, as far as he knew. It had properties that resembled a type of experimental alloy that had been rumored to be developed for high-value coins, but never officially released. It also bore microscopic anomalies on the reverse side, tiny symbols invisible to the naked eye, suggesting it had been handcrafted or modified during the minting process. Word spread quickly. The quarter was sent off to professional grading services, and the results were shocking. Experts confirmed it was genuine, not tampered with after minting. They classified it as a unique anomaly with unknown origins, a designation rarer than rare. In auctions, items with even minor mint errors can fetch thousands or tens of thousands. But a one-of-a-kind coin with mysterious origins? That was unprecedented. Offers started pouring in almost immediately. Private collectors, museums, even wealthy investors from overseas. The bids climbed higher and higher until the coin eventually sold in a private transaction for a jaw-dropping $286 million, setting a record that smashed every previous coin sale in history. But the story doesn't end there. Rumors began swirling about the true nature of the 1997 P quarter. Some speculated that it had been created intentionally by a rogue mint worker, embedding coded messages into its design. Others believed it was a prototype for a never-released line of ultra-secure currency, scrapped at the last minute but with one specimen accidentally or purposely slipping into circulation. Still others, more conspiratorial in nature, suggested that the coin was part of a secret government experiment, a test to see how long it would take for an anomaly to be discovered in the chaotic mess of everyday commerce. Whether any of these theories are true remains a mystery, and maybe that's part of why this coin became so incredibly valuable. It wasn't just the rarity. It was the story. The sense of wonder and mystery that it carried with it. Leonard, meanwhile, became an overnight sensation. News outlets clamored for interviews. Documentaries were made about his incredible find. He used part of the fortune to establish a foundation dedicated to preserving and educating the public about rare coins and American history. He also bought a modest home, took care of his family, and, true to his nature, kept a jar of coins in his living room, because, as he often said, you never know what history you're holding in your hands. Collectors today still talk about the legendary 1997 P quarter, with some claiming to have seen similar coins, though none have ever surfaced that match its unique characteristics. Auctions occasionally list 1997 P errors, but they are mere curiosities compared to the legend. Some believe that Leonard's quarter was the only one ever made. Others hold out hope that more are out there, hiding in drawers, stuck between couch cushions, jingling unnoticed in change jars across the country. The idea that a simple coin, something so small and ordinary, could carry within it such extraordinary value and history is what keeps treasure hunters searching, year after year, and really, that's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal and mint marks. It's about discovery. Mystery. The thrill of finding a piece of the past that connects you to a bigger story, sometimes one you could never have imagined. Every coin in your pocket right now has seen things you haven't. It's traveled places you'll never go. And maybe, just maybe, one of them holds a secret waiting for you to uncover. So next time you empty your pockets, or count your spare change, take a moment. Look closer. You could be holding a fortune. Or at the very least, you'll be holding a tiny piece of human history, and who knows? Maybe the next story of an ordinary person finding an extraordinary treasure will be about you. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this incredible story and you love learning about rare finds, hidden treasures, and fascinating history, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a single amazing discovery. Until next time, keep hunting, keep dreaming, and always remember, history is closer than you think. Last. Today's story might just blow your mind, because it's all about a simple-looking coin that turned out to be worth an astronomical amount of money, $213 million to be exact. Yes, you heard that right. A 1988 P quarter dollar, something you might think is just pocket change, became one of the most valuable coins in history. So, settle in, because this isn't just a story about a coin. It's about fate, luck, and how a tiny piece of metal can change a life forever. It all started like most great tales of hidden treasure do, completely by accident. In the late 1990s, a man named Arthur Pennington was cleaning out his late grandfather's house in rural Pennsylvania. Arthur's grandfather had been an old-school coin collector, but not in the fancy, catalogued, and professionally graded way you might think. No, he kept his coins in coffee cans, mason jars, and even tucked into old boots at the back of closets. To Arthur, most of it looked like junk, just a lifetime of accumulated pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. He was about ready to haul most of it off to the bank when something stopped him. It was a conversation he'd had with his grandfather years ago, one he barely remembered. His grandfather had said something about a special quarter, a coin so rare it could buy a house one day. Arthur figured it was just old man talk, but something deep inside told him to take a closer look. Night after night, Arthur sat at his kitchen table, slowly going through jar after jar, examining every coin under a cheap magnifying glass. Most of it was ordinary. Some wheat pennies, a few silver dimes from before 1965, a handful of Kennedy half-dollars. Interesting, but not life-changing. Then, one night, he found it. A 1988 quarter that looked different. At first, he couldn't put his finger on it. The coin was shiny, but not in a polished way. It had a slightly unusual luster. The mint mark, a tiny P for Philadelphia, seemed a bit off. And strangest of all, the edges were irregular, almost like they hadn't been fully cut. Curious, Arthur decided to show it to a local coin dealer, a guy named Marty DeSantis who ran a little shop in town. Marty was a gruff, no-nonsense type who had seen it all, or so he thought. When Arthur placed the quarter on the counter, Marty's eyes widened. He picked up a jeweller's loupe and inspected it carefully. After what felt like an eternity, he looked up at Arthur and said, "You might be sitting on a fortune, kid." As it turned out, the coin was not just any 1988p quarter. It was a mint error of such rarity that no other specimen had ever been confirmed. Through some freak accident at the Philadelphia Mint, this particular coin had been struck using a misaligned die, and more importantly, it had been composed with an experimental alloy intended for a cancelled program to introduce a new type of coin. This made it essentially a one-of-a-kind item. The Philadelphia Mint had apparently been testing different metal mixtures to improve the durability and lifespan of coins, but the project had been scrapped before launch. Somehow, one of those test planches had ended up in circulation, struck with a regular 1988 quarter design. A ghost coin from a project that was never meant to be. A word of the discovery spread like wildfire among numismatists, people who study and collect coins, and soon Arthur found himself at the center of a bidding war. Private collectors, museums, even investment groups were throwing numbers at him. First it was $50,000, then $250,000, then $1 million. But Arthur, advised now by a team of experts and lawyers, decided to hold out. He wanted the coin authenticated and graded by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, the gold standard in coin certification, after rigorous testing, including metallurgical analysis, historical research, and authentication procedures that took nearly 6 months. PCGS certified the coin as a unique. It was labeled as the only known specimen of its kind, the 1988p experimental alloy quarter error. The auction was set, and the world of high-end collectibles braced itself. The final auction took place in Las Vegas, with bidders from around the world participating by phone, online, and in person. The tension was palpable. Bidding started at $2 million, and within minutes it had skyrocketed past $10 million. By the time the gavel fell, the final price stunned everyone, $213 million. The winning bidder remained anonymous, represented by an agent who simply said the buyer wished to preserve a piece of the American industrial history. Arthur, stunned beyond belief, found himself catapulted into a world he had never even dreamed of. Practically overnight, he went from living paycheck to being able to afford whatever life had to offer. But Arthur wasn't flashy. He bought a modest house, set up college funds for his nieces and nephews, donated to several charities, particularly ones that supported historical preservation, and continued to live quietly in Pennsylvania. Now, you might be wondering, how could a quarter, something millions of people had jingling in their pockets back in 1988, possibly be worth $213 million? It wasn't just the rarity, though that was a big part of it. It was the story, the mystery, the fact that this coin was a tangible piece of a forgotten chapter in American minting history. It was a symbol of what could have been, a path not taken. And for serious collectors, that kind of once-in-a-lifetime artifact is beyond priceless. There's also another layer to the story that most people don't know. Shortly after the sale, rumors began swirling among numismatic insiders that the Philadelphia Mint had, indeed, created a very small batch of experimental alloy quarters, maybe as few as 20, before shutting down the project. If that's true, there could theoretically be others out there. Maybe in someone's attic, tucked into a drawer, lost at the bottom of a fountain, or lying unnoticed in a dusty jar of change. The idea that there could be more of these coins circulating somewhere fueled a frenzy of interest. For years after Arthur's discovery, coin dealers reported a massive uptick in people bringing in buckets of quarters, hoping to find their own $1 million treasure. despite countless rumors and a few false alarms, no second specimen has ever been authenticated. Arthur's quarter remains the only one officially recognized, making it the numismatic equivalent of a unicorn. Occasionally, new alleged finds pop up, generating excitement, but so far, none have stood up to the intense scrutiny necessary for authentication. Some people even speculated that the whole thing was a setup, that the coin was a hoax, or that the buyer was some eccentric billionaire playing a joke on the world. But multiple independent experts have verified the quarter's authenticity. Even skeptics in the tight-knit coin-collecting community eventually conceded that Arthur's quarter was the real deal. A freak accident, a 1 in a billion mistake that slipped through the cracks of history, and there's one more twist. A few years after Arthur's sale, the United States Mint issued a statement acknowledging that experimental alloys had, in fact, been tested in the late 1980s. They refused to comment specifically on the 1988 P quarter, citing policy and lack of official documentation, but many took the announcement as a tacit admission that Arthur's coin was a genuine relic from a secretive moment in mint history. The mystery surrounding the coin only increased its legend. Over time, it became the subject of documentaries, books, podcasts, and online forums. Some people even claimed the coin was cursed, citing a series of strange accidents involving people who had come into contact with it. Arthur himself, though, never spoke publicly about any bad luck. He always said that finding the coin had been a blessing, a rare and wonderful stroke of luck that changed his life for the better. He continued to live simply, often speaking to schools and community groups about history, perseverance, and the strange ways life can surprise you. His message was always the same: keep your eyes open. Treasure can be anywhere today. The 1988 P experimental alloy quarter is displayed at a private museum in Europe, rarely seen by the public but whispered about among collectors and historians. It remains a potent reminder that sometimes, the most extraordinary treasures come from the most ordinary places. That pocket change in your dresser drawer? It might just be history waiting to be rediscovered. And that's it for today's incredible story. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and diving deep into this amazing piece of hidden history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another wild story from the world of hidden treasures. See you next time.